Wait, this is the same.
No, that's 1815.
No, this is the same with push correctors. No.
Yeah, no, but this has
the quick set, so once it's synchronized, you can jump real quick.
Arena. We're keeping that in the video.
We're not keeping that in the video.
Today I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues, Rich and Arena, where we're going to discuss one of my favorite brands, and that is Lange Sohne, one of the kings of the current watch market in terms of just value and overall aesthetics. So let's get right into it. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. As I mentioned, this is Rich and Arena, both of whom worked at our Lange boutique formerly and are big fans of the brand, right?
Absolutely.
I think that what distinguishes Lange is, and I don't know if you guys would agree, is really that German style, right? I think it's very much showcased in the format of their dials, their use of kind of Arabic numerals, but also the layout, the font, and also just in terms of their cases, right? They have such a distinct, unique case shape that is, I think, without question, Lange Sohne.
Absolutely. I mean, personally, I'm super biased. We did a video before. I talked about my watches. I own 3 Langes. Wearing a Lange 1 today. I have the Saxonia Thin Copper Blue, the Gold Flux dial. I have a Cabaret. I mean, I'm fully in the brand.
Yeah.
Craftsmanship at the brand, it's something that I never stop amazed about the brand. Finishing. And everything that they keep everything so iconic and classic. They don't really follow the trends. They follow the iconic models from previous generation and kind of like go with that. What they do is they just perfect the movement, perfect their lubricants, but everything else, it stays pretty much iconic and classic to Lange.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I think they've been trailblazers of the brand really since they started in 1994. I think it starts right at the top, right? Walter Lange's great-grandson, I think it is, and I think probably the most forgotten about hero of the watch industry, unfortunately, the late, great Gunter Blumlein, I think, who is one of the most visionary geniuses of the watch industry, and again, an often forgot about hero. I think what really has come to define the Lange brand is the innovation, right? I mean, you look at, we have just in front of us, right, in terms of Format's annual calendar with the pusher adjuster, a double split, even just in 1999, the release of the datograph. But today I really wanted to center the conversation around what I feel are some of the most undervalued gems for the brand. And I think I'd start first with a watch that you mentioned, which is the Cabaret, right? It's just an incredible wristwatch, shaped wristwatch with a shaped movement, unbelievable finishing in true Lange fashion.
For me, the best part of the Cabaret is it was a complete bust when it was in production.
Right.
It never was successful.
Right.
They introduced a moon-phase Cabaret later that had a cult following but never really took off. They even did a tourbillon Cabaret, and then just in the past couple years they did the Handkunstwerks tourbillon Cabaret. I just think it's an incredible watch. It's so elegant and sophisticated. I get so many compliments. I'm not wearing mine today, but when I do, I mean, everyone loves it. And you can get one at a steal, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I mean, on the secondary market, I mean, this is more what you do than I do. You know, they kind of trend between 15 and 22,000, you know.
Right. And it really depends, obviously, the variation, but you can even get some, you know, sub 25 with a moon phase, right? Which is unbelievable. I mean, you compare, I guess the only real comparison is a Patek Philippe Gondolo, right? Or like, I guess if you want to go to shaped watches like a JLC Reverso, but that's not at the level of Lange.
No.
And so you're getting, I think, one of the most beautiful, iconic case shapes. Again, one that launched the brand in 1994, and it's just an absolute steal of a price point.
I agree with you.
And don't forget how hard it is to make a square movement.
Oh, absolutely.
Exhibition case back, you know, all the finishing.
Yeah,
I love it. The lugs are beautiful. It has a very Art Deco Gatsby vibe, and it sits really nice on the wrist. I think the size is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I wear mine all the time. Some people think that it's too dressy to wear casually. I wear it with a t-shirt. I mean,
and you could, what's cool is it's what we call in the watch industry a strap monster, right? You could put it brown, burgundy. I mean, really, in your format in particular, rose gold with kind of an opaline dial. It's just such a strap monster. And you mentioned another one that I think is a really undervalued picker. You disagree with me, but I think it's...
Which one?
I think it's a great one, is a Saxonia Thin Copper Blue because of the... I think you're paying a lot more for the dial. Obviously, Saxonia Thin you can get in the sub 15 where you're getting this one a little over 20, but the dial is just outrageously good.
But to me, that's not an understated watch. To me, that watch where you're not able to source for 5 years that we work with the brand.
Yeah.
So understated is more...
It's more undervalued, not undervalued.
I feel it's priced well. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think For us, we're probably a little biased because we were at the boutique and we had clients coming in seeking these watches out. I mean, our allocation, we had the boutique for 5 years. We got between 2 and 3 pieces a year, and they were always spoken for.
All right.
So it was always a very important, special, unique piece in our eyes. You know, but to your point, I don't think it gets enough recognition. And the thing that's fantastic about it, the Saxonia Thins are 37 millimeters.
Right.
That's the only one that jumps up to 39.
39, yep.
At one point, they had a 40, which was kind of big. 39, I mean, I say this all the time. For me, like 38 to 41 is bulletproof. 39 is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that watch.
It's a perfect size. I think 39 is the perfect size for a wristwatch in general. And I think it frames the dial so perfectly because they create something that we've never seen, right? Although it's aventurine kind of inspired, right? It's totally different to any of
What's wild is, and Arena can speak on this too, it's actually not an aventurine dial.
Right.
It's called a goldstone. It's a man-made glass that's super hard to produce.
Yes.
I don't know, you know, the truth to this, but
they
the
add, like,
rejection
copper
level
flux.
is like
Yeah, absolutely. So
insane. Like
it's
1 out of 10.
100%.
You know?
Yep. Yeah, and it's incredibly rare in that regard because whenever you're dealing with some kind of special material that has a dial, you know, that essentially is no good, they discard it every single time. That to me is always like a hint of a rare collectible, right? You see this in Patek with enamel dials, which generally have such a high failure rate. And that's why I feel it's undervalued. Sure, you can get a Saxonia, you know, let's say 15 to 20. This is a little over 20,000, but I think it's so much more special. It's warranted just because of how much more handwork is put into it.
Totally.
That pieces actually came in also in black aventurine dial.
Yeah.
And in rose gold.
Those
But
were
it
only
was
50
extremely
pieces.
limited,
Yeah.
But still, the heart was captured by white gold with the blue dial.
Yeah.
We sold
Yeah,
all of them. I
we
have
did.
pictures of both. They're not good pictures. I mean, we could even share them in the video, but
Sure.
changing the white gold case to rose gold with that dial, oh my, it exploded.
High contrast.
It
goes
was
crazy. Yeah.
insane.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
no, absolutely. Now, we talked about a couple very kind of, let's call them subdued watches, time-only watches, right? But I think what characterizes Lange so much over these last almost, 30 years now that it's been over 30 years now in production, is the complications, right?
Yep.
We have a couple annual calendars here, which I feel that Lange has really kind of perfected the calendar complication, specifically in the 1815 annual calendar because of that pusher, right? The fact that it moves the entire calendar forward as opposed to the Saxonia annual calendar, which still has the pusher correctors, which I think is just a little outdated, you know, format.
Everybody loves the proportion and the legibility of this watch. And this one for us, we never did well with. The 1815 was always a bigger hitter for us. And I think people found the 1815 harder to read because the subsidiary dials are smaller. There's a lot more going on. So it's kind of funny. I do think that what pushed people towards this was the correction pusher.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't wear the watch for a week, you're still synchronized.
It's
You
a
can
total
just
nightmare.
click 5-6 times.
Calendars are the biggest nightmare in the watch industry, you know, because then you got to push one corrector, then another one, then another one, and you mess it up, you got to do it all over again. It's the worst.
Yeah. So I think that really pushed and made this watch a little bit more successful because it was a little bit more user friendly. I mean, one of the big differences, this is manual wind, this is automatic.
Right.
So I mean, the automatic, a lot of people who are scared about watches tend to lean that way because I think it's easier.
Sure.
But I do think,
But the collector of Lange is a very classic
it's
collector.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. But I will say this movement specifically, I think, is the nicest objectively that Lange makes outside of their manual wind chronographs because and they don't even make this anymore. Now they make it with a full rotor. This is the 3/4 micro rotor and has a platinum outer ring on the actual rotor itself. Extremely difficult. I mean, I don't know how they were able to make so many of these at scale, but it's unbelievably beautiful movement.
It's funny, a lot of people argue that the best movement Lange ever made was the Saxomat.
Really?
You know, and it was a simple automatic micro rotor. People love that movement.
Yeah.
And it's no longer in production.
No, they just don't make it anymore.
No, that predates our time with the brand, but you know, we would take a lot in for service and get to play with them and see them. But the micro rotor is beautiful. The Lange-Matic Perpetual has one too, though.
Yes. Langematic Perpetual is, to me, in aesthetics, is very close to Saxonia annual calendar.
I agree. It's 38.5 millimeter
They're the same
micro
size.
rotor.
But always, this watch performs so much better. And I think that's also the story of 1815. It's a birth year of our founder. Another small details that a lot of Lange clients and in general in the watch industry, that's the contrast of silver dial or argenta dial with blue hands and more of a bluish numerals. Versus here, it's definitely much more sterile look,
Yeah.
with just the moon face is popping up. I always love this piece. I think it's a very undervalued piece for what I think is, especially in platinum. Lange does not produce that many platinum cases. It's very rare occasion.
Yeah.
Lately, it's extremely rare occasion, unless it's something that
Very
is
rare and
very
special.
rare, very limited,
Yeah.
something that Lange Watches and Wonder, and they kept everything at 50 to 150 pieces.
And too, what's cool about these to give somebody who loves Lange but isn't fully versed in Lange, the difference between an 1815 and the Saxonia. 1815 will always have Arabic numerals. It also will have the railroad ring so that every minute can be accounted for perfectly. Saxonia always has stick indices. Simple indicator. Stick indices, Saxonia, Arabic numbers, 1815. Simple way to tell the two apart. You can always tell too if a watch has a platinum case, because this is platinum, this is white gold. White gold has an argenta dial. This always has a grayer,
Yeah, it's like almost like a
darker
ghost-
hue
ghost
to it.
gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can kind of tell immediately
Sure.
if a watch is platinum based on the dial color.
Yep.
It won't be
You can
German
see the
silver.
difference.
It'll have that grayish rhodium kind of tint to it, which mutes it a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, moving on from calendars, because although I love the calendars, I think the best from Lange without question, and I think you guys would agree with me, is their chronographs, right?
Yeah.
I think without,
Absolutely.
like, even since 1999 until this day, I think the best in-house manual wine chronograph is a Datograph or 1815 chronograph. And I don't think anybody in the watch industry can really argue it because the movement architecture, the finishing. Now we have what I feel is probably the upgraded version to that, probably the most undervalued chronograph on the market today, and that's a double split, right? I mean, you think about technical ingenuity, just watchmaking prowess, and then on top of it, you turn this watch over and you just look at the incredible depth, movement finishing, architecture. I mean, it's just like it's unbelievable. The only knock against it is maybe the proportions,
How thick it is.
But you need real estate to fit all that incredible ingenuity. And at sub $100,000, which is what you can get a double split for, where are you finding any split second, let alone a double split, from any other brand that's finished at this level? It's just impossible to find.
Oh, I know.
To me, this is everything what you're looking in Lange when you turn this over. The movement of this timepiece is absolutely stunning, breathtaking. Everything you're looking for in Datograph. Anytime you're viewing the watch, you also want to turn this over and take a look at the beautiful stock movement and the way the exhibition case back with chatons.
Blued screws, I mean, German silver bridges. It's the only shame with this watch, honestly, is you can't take the lugs out and wear it upside
Right.
down. Like that'd be my pick personally.
I actually have a picture where I flipped the strap and wore it dialed down on my wrist so you could see the movement.
I mean, it's unbelievable, right? I mean, this is what the collectors pay for when it comes to Lange, right? This is, I think, what has come to define the brand is not just the incredible finishing, but the ingenuity, because nobody is making this kind of stuff at the highest level other than a select handful of brands. And, at the production that they're making it at, right, Lange making at most 5,000 watches a
most.
year now.
Yes.
It's unreal what they've been able to achieve.
And what I love that you picked the double split for this reason, because as soon as the triple split came out, right? Why talk about the double split? Let's talk about the triple split.
Absolutely.
You don't have a triple split without a double split.
Yep.
And I mean, I just think what this watch represents and when it was released, I mean, it was monumental. I mean, the triple split was monumental.
You love that watch. You actually have few clients who purchased that.
Yeah.
They were going in between few different pieces, and always when they view this piece, they will go for it.
Yeah, we sold a handful of these brand new out of the boutique. We sold triple splits, Datograph perpetual tourbillons. I mean, we had access to everything. I mean, minute repeaters. I just think this movement is stunning. To your point, not that I'm a small guy by any means, but I tend to wear
Like
smaller watches.
Yeah.
The movement on the 1815 chronograph is just as stunning, just as beautiful, and
Yeah.
you get it a little bit more compact.
100%.
Whatever configuration you like. I like the boutique.
Oh, the boutique edition,
this
unbelievable.
one. I mean-
Oh,
This one is my
yeah,
favorite.
the boutique edition with the
It's-
blue
yeah,
numeral.
oh
Oh
my
my, stop! It's so beautiful. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I'm not a sporty guy. I lean to dress watches.
Yeah.
So like I actually don't even own a chronograph.
Sure.
That's a watch that I would buy. The thing that's weird though is as long as one of those brands that like you really can't pigeonhole yourself. We'll laugh because literally I'm a dress watch guy. I'm in a t-shirt and shorts with a gold watch on.
Yeah.
But I want a Zeitwerk, and that doesn't fit my mold. You know, I want an 1815 chronograph, and that doesn't fit my mold. Like Lange does that to you, and it's because of the movement. And I think one thing that's important to say about Lange is, and I love this about the brand, they build the movement, and when the movement is done, then they build the watch.
Right.
They'll never use a bumper. You know, they never reuse movements. I mean, like when this watch was built, they made that movement, and then the case was built to fill that movement. The dial was like, it's not like, oh, we're drawing a watch, this is the idea, let's figure out a movement, or let's repurpose a movement, or use a bumper, or whatever it is. They're a movement company, you know, and what they've done, you know, the brand was relaunched in 94, it's 25, you're talking 31 years. I mean, at the introduction, the TurboGraph was part of the, you know, 5 watches.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like it is.
Not
they
the
came
TurboGraph,
out
but the Polymer.
the Polymer Reed Tourbillon.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, they came out the gate, gun smoke. Even the Lange 31. It's like we do it just because we can.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I think to me, I did a video about this in terms of like innovative watches released in the last 20 years. Zeitwerk is at the very top of my list. You know, and I would say this also for the Polymer Tourbillon, which launched the brand. Because there's just nothing else like it, right? There really isn't. I mean, especially on a Zeitwerk, because you take all the innovation, pack it into a format that's so unique, right? The digital display format, and then it's in such a wearable case. At least the white gold black dial, which is my personal pick. You know, wearable case size in 40 millimeters. It's not, you know, overly thick. It wears just absolutely sublime, and then you turn that watch over, and it's a feat of marvel when it comes to engineering.
I mean, this is like a video on its own, but when you get into the Fusain chain, and I mean, we saw the link.
chain.
I mean, how small it is, and I mean, how it works.
It's like the size of a small piece of your fingernail. Like
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Thing.
Like the scale is unreal at which they work at. Now, there's a couple other watches. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's a couple other watches that I think are undervalued, right? But I think, you know, like a Lange 1, for example, which you can now pick up in the lower 20s, depending on the variation. Obviously, there's a ton of different price points and different complications you can go for. But for me, what shines always is going to be the chronographs. I don't know about you guys.
So which chronograph then you prefer? Because Lange does well,
Sure.
1815 chronograph.
So I love 1815 chronograph because it's the most wearable, right? You're gonna get,
39.5,
you're gonna pick them up again, depending on the variation, somewhere in the 45 to 55,000 range, right?
Based on where retail is now, that's
Right, which is
unbelievable.
affordable in the watch world,
Yeah.
right? A manual wind chronograph made at that level, right? But to me, the value pick is the double split. Again, it's like you're never going to find a split second, let alone a double split second chronograph at this kind of sub 100,000 price point. It's impossible to find.
What's your favorite chronograph then from Lange?
Or just your favorite watch in general, yeah.
Let's say chronograph.
Let's keep it to undervalued.
I'll tell you, so
buying.
undervalued. Listen, I'm going to say something you guys are going to laugh at.
Okay.
And I don't even think most people know what watch this is. I actually think at some point we're going to see a surge. And it's going to be, maybe it already has a niche market, but I don't think so. I think the arcade is the most undervalued Lange.
Yeah,
I think it's a great watch for a woman. Because honestly, I mean, Arena's tried on my Cabaret before. It's big on her.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know the lug to lug.
Yeah, the lug to
it's
lug,
long.
yeah.
You know, the arcade is basically the female version of that, you know, and it's a unique shape. It's not tonneau, it's not tank, it's not octagonal.
Yeah.
It might be octagonal, I don't know.
It's kind
You
of
know?
somewhere in between all of them, yeah.
Super unique, big date, manual wind, you know. I mean, the first 2 years had the closed case back, but everything was still finished. But at one point, and that was part of the original, you know, releases, at one point they made a grand arcade for men, which was larger. I've never seen one. I've actually never serviced an arcade. I've never taken one in. At my previous job, I took in a few that had like diamond bezels with, you know, mother of pearl, beautiful, like elegant, beautiful women's dress watches.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see something like that. Unique, different. I don't think the brand will ever make a watch like that again. I don't know that we'd ever see like a Cabaret come from Lange again. I miss that a little bit. I find it like nostalgic to old Lange. Not like I'm older, I was an adult buying it in the early 90s, but there's something about those unique pieces. You know, you sold a rose gold black dial,
Lange.
piece unique,
Yeah.
Lange 1,
The diamond
that got
bezel.
diamond bezel, and it was a one of one.
Yeah.
Like this Lange, you know, going back to those Gunter Blumlein days, they did a lot of funky stuff.
They did.
Diamond gem sets. I mean,
Even
another
their bracelets.
I was going to say the Wellendorf
man.
bracelets still.
Oh, man.
That, I mean, I was on the hunt for like a year. I mean, I
Yeah.
talked to Lange, to HQ, to Germany. I'm like, I'm going to find one for my Lange 1. I mean,
Impossible.
listen, and what's crazy is
It's impossible.
Josh had one, yeah.
those were so unpopular, they melted and sold most of
Oh
them.
yeah, no.
You know, like,
and you know what's the worst part? That if they tried in the watch industry today, they probably couldn't even remake those bracelets unless a hyper focused manufacturer like Wellendorf said, okay, let's.
and like people literally say, I mean, I've seen platinum ones, I've seen yellow gold ones, I've seen Lange ones with like the Melanese strap soldered
amazing.
on.
Yep.
But everyone says those Wellendorf bracelets are the best watch bracelet ever made
Comfortable,
for any
supple,
watch
ergonomic.
ever.
Yeah.
Heavy, solid gold, whatever the material was. Those were,
Incredibly well finished.
yeah.
also.
And they
Oh
had
my
like
God.
there was like a wave one, there was like beads of rice, like a 5-row. They did a couple variations,
Yep.
different sizes. I would love to play with those
How
at
cool
some
to
point,
see
right?
they would
Yeah.
do something
Yeah.
like that.
What about you, Arena?
Actually, for ladies' pieces, I would be very satisfied with Saxonia 35 millimeter. I wore one in 37, and it was mother of pearl, white gold, and
Diamond bezel.
there's something, Lange does something to you, even if you're wearing the most simplest piece from ALS. That's always, you can't go back to anything else.
Sure.
It's the most simplicity of the brand. That's what really gets you. So I would go for
And even there was a ton of them that they made with the 3/4 micro rotor, and it had a 0 reset function.
Yeah.
They did those for a short period, and they're actually very undervalued. They're in the around the sub 25 range, but again, that's another one. Beautiful 3/4 micro rotor with that 0 reset is incredible watch. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Saxonas. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this conversation on A Lange Sohne. Rich, Arena, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Hopefully we'll do this again, maybe with Panerai IWC, upcoming Watches and Wonders releases. So
That's exciting stuff.
A lot of great content will come from it, no doubt about it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, I'd really appreciate if you hit the like button. Subscribe for more videos like this in the future. As always, I'm Marco, joined by my colleagues. Thanks again.
Thank you,
We'll
Marco.
see you all in the next one.
Thank you.